Well, welcome back to the Discover Fort Smith podcast. I am not your normal host, but subbing in. My name is Ashley Backert. I'm the executive director of Discover Fort Smith. Normal person in this seat would be Josh Bufink, and he's not here, so you get me. And I get the privilege of always working with Joe Klein, who is absolutely phenomenal at what he does and has way more experience at this, so he corrects me and keeps me in line.
But guess what, everybody? I'm not the only Joe today.
No, you're not.
Podcast. I mean, not like legally, but like,
We have the phenomenal Joanna Hernandez, and I think I've been bragging about you nonstop. I brag about you in the community. I love my whole entire team.
Yes.
Like, I want to make sure it's very clear. I love my entire team. But when I talk about homegrown talent, when I talk about the voice of Fort Smith, and the hire that was made with you, like 1,000%, I'm always like, Joanna's your person. So you and I have had some pretty good conversations here recently just about your past and kind of where you've come from and your history and stuff like that, where you want to go and your love for the community. But why don't you tell everybody else here? Tell us about your past. Tell us about you.
Also, can you start with your title for?
Oh yeah,
and you maybe have said. I want to make sure.
No, I'm the world's worst about that.
Okay, so I am the social media coordinator of Discover Fort Smith. So everything that you see on social media, that's me.
Yeah, it is.
And
Girl,
we're a two-person.
Way more proud about that.
We're a two-person marketing team. So on the back end is my partner Emily, who fortunately is usually here but is not here.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of like the front end of things. So I guess I could talk about my past. I would say I'm pretty young. I just graduated college.
Where did you graduate from?
Yes.
From
the University of Arkansas.
Oh, right here.
Yes. So
in
like
Fort
right
Smith.
here we are right now. Like this is your stomping grounds.
It's kind of surreal. I'm not going to lie, being here and being in this position. I think not a lot of people could say that they would do this sort of thing or be invited to do this sort of thing, or I don't know, like be able to represent their hometown, sort of thing. But yeah, I'm a native from Fort Smith. I was born and raised, went through the school system. I graduated Southside as a Maverick, and then I was going to go to the University of Central Arkansas. And then, and so that everything would have been
way different.
Crazy different, yeah. But I didn't, and it's mainly because I had gone to, there's these events that the Wingate has here at UAFS, and they call it Forge Ahead. And they basically kind of like show off all the programs they have to the students. And kind of like, if you're interested in the art field, this is what we have: studio art, graphic design. And so since 8th grade, which like I was like 14, I was like, I'm going to be a graphic designer. That's what I'm going to do. And then when I went to this event, there was this guy who was a senior, and he was like, I went to the University of Central Arkansas, and I came here one day, and I was like, I got to transfer. So he transferred to UAFS because he thought the Wingate program was better. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that. And I was in high school still. So I got the wonderful opportunity to make that decision early on before I was like late. And I don't regret it. This is a great school. And I don't have school debt. So I think that's...
Yeah. You are winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
1,000% you're winning at life. Mm-hmm. Now, you're also an award winner through UAFS.
What?
Yes.
So share with the... I know people don't know this.
Yeah, sometimes I don't talk about it.
She doesn't like to talk about herself. This is why she likes to be behind Discover Fort Smith.
I'm usually behind the camera, right? But so they have academic excellence awards here. And so I was the recipient for my class for graphic design. So I did go through the graphic design program, and I took some marketing classes, and that was also a defining point for me because I was like, social media, I think might be a winner. But yeah, academic excellence for graphic design.
Like the only one, like she's of her graduating class.
Yeah,
like
they only picked
she
one.
was the one.
Wow.
And then we got to grab her.
Do you know how many people you graduated with?
It was a small class, so maybe not a lot of competitors, but I think it was like 10 other people maybe that was in my class.
Oh, well, that's for your, like, that was a...
Graphic design. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Very small
okay.
class.
I mean, like, your whole, do you know, I just don't know how
I
many,
have no idea what the graduating class
how
tuition
big they
is.
get here. Yeah, they get thousands.
No idea.
Especially for college. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Mhm.
So talk about talk a little bit about your family, because your background with your family, I love, kind of shapes how you talk about Fort Smith, and how you educate those of us that aren't from here. I mean, on staff, it's you and Olin and Paige, and it's the three of you that are from here. And then the rest of us are like, we don't know any better. So I think you guys do a great job of educating us and allowing us to see it through your eyes. But tell us about kind of your background, family background, and go from there.
Yeah. So I am one of 4 siblings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only girl in my family, which is kind of crazy and probably says a lot about me. And I have 3 older brothers. So they, of course, born and raised here as well. Well, actually, no. Me and the youngest brother were born and raised in Fort Smith, and the other 2 were born in California, but they were raised here in Fort Smith.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest brother went to Denver, Colorado, and had stayed there for over 10 years. And then my second older brother stayed. The rest of us stayed. And he would tell me, because I would, like many people my age at the time, we were like, gotta leave our hometown, gotta spread our wings and fly, which I'm still a fan,
Yeah.
I understand, I get it, but there's something about making an impact. And, let's say you make an impact and then you leave, you made that impact, you helped your roots. But let's say you do stay and you want to help the city grow, because impact is, it's really important to me personally. And so at the time it wasn't like going through middle school, high school, and everyone was, like I said, in accordance with that idea. And my brother was like, have you ever thought about the city as your grass? And I was like, I didn't think about that. And he was like, well, that saying that the grass is greener where you water it. It's not always greener on the other side. And that really, I'm sure people have heard that all the time. It's just like, if you give a man a fish for a day, or give a man a fish, he will eat for a day. But if you teach him how to fish, he'll eat forever,
Mm-hmm.
And those analogies, I think, are really important. Whether people like to say they're cringy, I think they hold a lot of symbolism and importance. And I think with that, I was kind of like, you're kind of right about that. I don't have to leave to grow. I can still grow here.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's kind of like where my mind started changing. And it was a big reason was my brother. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a big reason my brother was, and he's sometimes in our videos. He's in our videos. The 2 guys that you see in some of our videos, those are my brothers. But yeah, he was a big importance. Him and then a friend of ours. They were in my ear, like, you don't have to go. You can change things around here. You can be a voice of change. And then on top of that, one of my closest friends that you guys have already interviewed, Bridget, who works for the Regional Art Museum, she was also a voice for change, and kind of like telling me, hey, you can do things here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask is, it's controversial maybe.
Jeez, Joe, don't do that to my employee.
I feel like whenever someone decides to stay home and plant their roots, it's almost like a vibe of, oh, they're a cliche. So how did you recognize that? Was that a thing? And then 2, if it was something that you felt like people saw or were portraying about people who stayed home in Fort Smith and didn't go out like to Northwest Arkansas or move to another state, how did you get around yourself maybe feeling that way when you decided to stay? Because at some point you were thinking about going out and spreading your wings. I don't want to stay home. Because I know, like, for my wife coming back to Fort Smith, she graduated from here. That was something that we had to be like, no, you're not a failure for staying home. And like, that's not really something we want to promote anyways, that if you go back home, you're failing, it's not true.
okay, so I would say this to people all the time. If they mind, they don't matter. And if they matter, they don't mind. So if the people in your circle care so much about if you stay or you know, whatever you decide to do, as long as it's not damaging yourself, then maybe they're not the best people to have in your circle. And sometimes the smaller circles are the better circles to have. But yes, and I see that to this day. There's always people that will say things. They'll be like, "Oh, you're not growing. You're not evolving. You're staying in the same place." And I'm like, that's what traveling's for. I'm not gonna lie. Traveling will do that for you. And yeah, maybe one day in a different state or a different city is not gonna fully change how you believe or what your beliefs are, but at least it'll expose you to new things and new ideas. And I think that is good. And I think that your wife probably took whatever she learned somewhere else and probably is a better person for it and brought it back here. And I think that it's essential for the area. And I think it's essential for people to maybe do go out and explore and then come back and then change things for the better. Or if you don't go, travel, do a little this and that, and then expose yourselves to new ideas. You can expose yourself literally from your phone. I mean, you don't have to actually physically go. You can just go on Google and just, hey, and expose yourself to new ideas like from your phone. I mean, I don't know how else to say that, but it's part of myself just didn't care, really, to be honest. I really didn't care that much of what people thought of me, because I was like, why would they care about what I'm doing? They're not even in my life. So I think that should be something that people should really consider. It's like, where are your priorities at and who actually matters in your life? And that's just what I think.
So let's pivot to kind of the priorities of the job. And again, I always talk about how great you are, I think, capturing the diverseness of the community, wanting to find the new places that people should go visit, busting myths, showing people really what Fort Smith has to offer. What part of that job has brought you joy? What part has been challenging? Like, just talk about what it is really to be the voice of a community.
So, wow, that's a loaded question.
Hit you with a lot there.
Yeah. So whenever I got into this role, I was an intern, which probably a lot of people do not know that. But I did start as an intern, and I didn't know that I was going to go into this role full time. It was just something to have, because just like any student at the time, I had that anxiety of like, I need to get a job before I graduate. There's that safety net. And so when I was doing this internship, I was like, this is kind of fun. Like, this is really cool. And I didn't even know that this existed. I mean, to this day, whenever I tell people what I do, they're like, that's a thing? Fort Smith has one? Giggle. And I'm like, yes, we do have one.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate to have one, because not every city that's our size or smaller is fortunate to have one. A lot do, and Fort Smith's one of them. And so, part of that, like the challenge, was trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to highlight? And a lot of ideas started coming, and then a lot of it came through research, and I was looking at what bigger cities were doing, and I was like, we could totally do that. Why are we not doing that? That was always the question. Why are we not doing that? We have so much diversity here. People want to say we don't have diversity, but we have so much diversity. Mm-hmm. The population here is insane. Historically, we're like, that's a lot of where diversity has come from, with the Laos, Cambodian, Vietnamese refugees, brought in a ton of delicious food that I'm sure you guys are aware of. And then, of course, my family, we're Mexican. We brought our culture, and likewise other families of Mexican descent and Salvadoran, and other Hispanic heritages have brought their taste into Fort Smith and kind of gave people that exposure to new foods, because that's what it's about. That's about evolving. It's like exposing yourself to new things, and we can have that here. And so when I was thinking, what do we have? Because there are certain things that we don't have that other cities have. I mean, okay, a stadium. Okay, we don't have that, so I can't talk about that. Okay, so what do we do have? We have all these historical landmarks. We have a a really awesome, cool, big downtown. I mean, I don't think people understand how big our downtown area is and how much like the potential that downtown could be even greater than it is already. And then seeing, okay, what are some of the hidden gems? What are things that people don't know about? Because there are a lot of spots in Fort Smith that people don't know. Even the residents do not know these things. And then they learn through Facebook. They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that place existed. Spotlighting businesses that don't even have their own social media. I think that's why it's so impactful. It's like, you know, if you're going out and you want to do something fun today, hit up one of these things through, like, use our social media as your own guide. Help people who live out of state, like your family members that live out of state who are coming in, you know, hey, let's do this for the day. Let's go check out that cool used bookstore down, you know, Towson Avenue or something like that, you know. And so we have all these things that I think the challenge mainly was that it wasn't spotlighted before. And so I was like, let me spotlight it. Let me take advantage of that. Let me bring in the fresh new perspective in. And of course, I think a lot of young people have like that, you know, like bustling energy or something, and they're trying to bring in new, fresh perspectives. And I think that's what we needed. And I think that's why people should realize, hey, we're growing and we have so much potential. Just hold on.
You were mentioning young energy, which is actually the question I want to ask you next. So you're Gen Z, right? Are you Gen Z?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're Gen Z, and you can tell when you post, it's like, okay, this is coming from someone who understands the people online. How do you mix that in with also having a professional taste to it? Because you are representing an entity, not a person. So how do you do that in the way that you do? How do you go around thinking about that? Because however you do it is great, I think. And it actually connects. Like, even my wife, Lauren, she'll text me stuff that you post on Facebook. Like, did you see this? This is so funny. I'm like, no, I didn't. And this is funny. This is hilarious.
Yeah, you know, that is I don't know. I feel like by nature I've always had like this weird, I've always like had an old soul. And so I feel like even though I do have that young energy, I've always kind of been like an old person or something. And so I think maybe I don't know, I feel like that is just natural to me. And I will second guess everything. I'd be like, is this appropriate? Does this appeal to me? Does this appeal to an older person? I mean, it appeals to me. Where's our niche audience? Like, what audience are we targeting? And so some of that has to do with like technical marketing objectives, which is like boring stuff, right? But some of that is like things that I have to consider. I'm like, okay, well, who's our target audience, and what do they know and love? And then do we want to go younger? Of course we want to go younger. So if we're looking at people who are in their 30s, okay, would they understand this cultural reference? Probably. Like, I did a video like last year about the Gilmore Girls, and that one did great. Everybody loved it. They're like, oh my gosh, the Gilmore Girls here in Fort Smith? Yes, I agree. And it's just taking the things that we have and seeing if we can mix it in with like relevant cultural references, and then also not, I don't know what it is, but not overdoing it. It's tasteful. Like, you're just going to be tasteful about it. Yeah. What's the angle? And then what's the tone? And then make sure that the language is appropriate. And then that's just kind of, I don't know how to explain it necessarily. Yes. And I use a lot of like, the world's my oyster. I research all the time. And then Ashley will be like, scrolling on Reels all day, and I'm like, please, that's not everything I'm doing.
I'm not judgy about that. I know it's a part of the deal.
Yeah.
But, you know,
not the old boss that's like, what you doing on social media?
What are you doing? You're on Facebook all day.
Yeah.
That's literally my job.
Yeah. There's like a component to that, you know what I mean? And there is a component where you do have to go out there on the internet and see what everyone else is doing. And I personally don't really care about social media, but I think it's very impactful for businesses and it's impactful for brands. And so I look at it from the brand perspective and not from the personal perspective. And it makes everything way better because I'm like, this isn't me. This is Fort Smith. You know what I mean? And so it makes it easier to disassociate myself from it. And it makes like the decisions easier too.
You talked.
No, go ahead.
You talked about the Gilmore Girls video they did, but can you actually describe all the types of content that you do on a monthly basis? And it can even be broken down into, obviously, I know there's reels and there's graphics, but a little bit, maybe even a little bit more specific, like, oh, the calendar, or, oh, here's a series that I've been doing or have done.
Right, like campaigns.
That type, yeah. Like, describe some of that stuff that you actually do month to month. And what's your favorite out of all of those?
Oh man,
it better be the calendar. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I'm totally just playing.
The events calendar. The events calendar was done before me, and I just kind of like refreshed the brand and kind of like threw in just a fresh look. Really, is what it was, and then I condensed it a little more because. So since I do have a graphic design background, it really helps.
You designed it?
Yes.
Design.
Oh, it looks so good.
Yeah, I do all of that. So because, like I said, because of my graphic design degree and all that experience, it's really helped me in my role to make things look good, to make it look, like a designer will look at it and be like, this looks pretty good. And my professor would say, if no one calls out anything, then it's probably good. And that's the point. It's not supposed to be, if it's bad, people will comment is what I mean.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes.
And so because of my degree, it's helped me immensely on like the look of things. And so I would always bounce ideas off with Emily about things. And I was like, okay, this could totally be a series. And so besides the events calendar, which like I said, I continued, I started adding on some other stuff. Like the podcast was technically a campaign, of which you do, of course, but that is something that we do as Discover Fort Smith. And then on top of that, we introduced Fort Smith Unfiltered, which may be my favorite, I'm not going to lie, because it's so lax. I mean, I'm just talking to a local, like a native in Fort Smith, asking them what their favorites are. And a lot of the times we get some really good stuff from those videos that the audience members probably wouldn't have known otherwise. And they're like, oh, now I have a new place to try or a new place to visit. And so I think that one is just awesome. And honestly, because it's kind of hard. I love all of my campaigns. They're just great. And they always do very well. And I think the community really likes them. But our EGC Foodie Adventures.
Those are my favorite days. I'm not going to lie. I love our EGCs.
Yeah.
Those are
You should
fun.
come and eat with us one
I
time.
know.
Yes.
Y'all went to go eat, and I was like, come on, y'all. Like,
Look, I'll
where's
throw
the
you in the
invite?
mix. I'll throw you
It's
in the
probably
mix.
just right around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, but our EGC Foodie Adventures, which most people are like, oh, what does that mean? What is it? Basically, EGC means employee generated content. And that does well itself because it's like showing, hey, this is the team. This is actually who helps you put you on the map. This is what we do. Like, this is a team building also. It's very good for team building. But we go out, we pick a restaurant and we eat there. This most recent one that we did was AJ's Oyster House, which was really cool. And then we each order something and we're like, this is what I got. And whoever is holding the camera, which is usually me until it's me, well, I'll be like, hey, what did you get? And technically the series to audience members would be, what did you get series? Because I think it's fun and everybody's like, oh yeah, what did you get? And that's kind of like a joke that we toss around every now and then. It's like, what did you get? But the campaign is EGC Foodie Adventures, but that one I really love. We do that one monthly. Event calendar is also monthly. Podcast, as you know, is weekly. Unfiltered is monthly also.
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, yes.
I think that this was, honestly, for me, I love your behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
Because I feel like it truly is a showcase of what makes Fort Smith special. And it's the people. Like everything else very much is like, let's throw flowers at all the businesses. For this one, it's like the people. You get to know the people, and you just do such a great job with that one.
Thank you. But yes,
take compliments very well. I had to get on her. I'm like, you just have to say thank you, smile, take it, move on.
I don't want my head to get too big, so I'm trying to humble myself. But yeah, I love behind the scenes too. That one, like I said, I love all of our campaigns. The behind the scenes is very community focused, and it does well with tourists too. I mean, if you go somewhere, they're like, you could go to I don't know, Harvest Moon Bakery, for instance. That was the first one I ever did, and I ask a series of questions like, why Fort Smith? What's your story in a nutshell? And why should people come here? And a lot of people have really cool, interesting stories. I mean, like we discussed earlier, not everybody's from Fort Smith. So that is an integral part of it. It's like, how did you get here? Why did you get here? Like, and some people have really cool stories. They're like, oh, I came here because, I used to live in this country. And it's like, what? You lived internationally? It's like, yes, I did. And then I came to Fort Smith. I thought this place was cool. It's quiet and peaceful and, that sort of thing. And, but yeah, behind the scenes does show more, of the community side of things and what we have here. And sometimes, even though tourism is tourism, a key piece to that is also we can end up having more people because of it, live here. That could change some people's minds just based on a tourism level, and then it becomes a residential thing,
Yeah.
But gosh, I'm trying to think of other campaigns.
Your itineraries,
Oh,
I think,
yeah,
like the
itineraries.
fall or the seasonal kind of bucket list.
Oh yeah, the bucket list.
Yeah.
Yes. So I've switched doing that seasonally. I think it makes more sense doing it seasonally. So we are going to get a fall bucket list soon.
Oh, fine.
Which I'm not sure when this comes out, but fall bucket list. And then there'll be a winter bucket list. There'll be a spring bucket list, and that one's kind of just like pulling in random events, random things that just make sense for the season.
Yes.
Oh, make sure that it's September. Go to the Arkansas-Oklahoma State Fair. You can't miss it. That's a bucket list item you have to do. So it kind of adds that fun element to people and kind of give them just an idea list, but in a really fun, more graphic, heavy kind of way.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's smart too, because a lot of times whenever you go tour somewhere or you go to the city, you're like, oh, I want to go do this. And it's not happening because it's something that's seasonal. Like even when you think about camping, for me, just me, I prefer to do those day trips during the fall and not during 100-degree weather in the summer. So like, no, I don't really, I don't want to see those.
Yeah.
Itineraries then for me, because I just want to do it when it's cooler. So just different stuff like that. Smart.
Yeah. We do a lot of random stuff besides the campaigns, but.
Do you know your most viewed piece of content that you've done so far?
Gosh.
Or it could be, if you can't remember, what is your favorite piece of content overall that you've done? You can even include your intern year.
Oh man. Oh, that's a hard one.
You have to pick one.
There's so many good stuff. Like, I can't even think of the most viewed one. I mean, I've had friends that were like, there's like several thousands of people who have seen this video right here. And yeah, you may not see it, like maybe they didn't like it, but hey, they saw it. And that's an impression right there that may make them change their mind. But ooh, I don't know. That's a hard one. I feel like maybe one of my favorites is probably one of my recent ones, honestly, like very recent ones. And this one kind of, a lot of like
wondering which one you're about to mention.
A lot of good stuff. And any marketer or anybody who works in this field can tell you this, but some of the stuff that you will dedicate not like a crazy amount of time on, but maybe like just,
more than normal. I know exactly.
Sometimes those are golden nuggets. Like sometimes they're like, that one popped off way more than I expected. And I knew this video was going to do well, but the way that it did well was like something else.
The rising action. Oh my goodness! Like we're waiting.
Yeah, which one?
Yeah, we're.
Sorry. I think this is a two-parter. But when we had Thunder in the Fort, Thunder in the Fort parade.
That was legit.
Because I probably have another favorite. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's probably another one that's more my favorite. But the ones that I can think of that had a big impression on me were those two videos that I did for Thunder in the Fort.
Yes.
Because the first one was like Isaiah Joe and it was Jalen Williams, and I like interviewed them, which was crazy. And I interviewed them, and then it was like a whole compilation of things, and that video was really fun. I really liked doing that one. And then the second one, which probably takes the cake for me, is because it was them, but it was also the locals. And there was these two kids at the end of that video. And I had asked them, like, okay, we have 2 NBA champions and we have Miss America. Like, what do you think that says about us? And this kid is like, that champions come from here or something like that, or that greatness comes from here or something like that. And then the other kid's like, goated. And I was like, oh my God. I love it. Yeah. And I was like, I wonder how many people are going to make it to the end of this video and hear that.
Yeah.
And I think about it all the time.
That's so
It was so good. And like I said, there's too many.
Mm-hmm.
I've done too much that I'm like, I don't even know which one's my favorite at this point. But those two, they're up here right now.
This is a good moment to say, if you want to see any of this content that she is talking about that she's made, you can go over to Discover Fort Smith's Facebook or via Instagram.
Thank you so much. Like,
walking such an ad.
I know. Like, timeout. Sponsored by.
Well, this is brought to you by.
I know. Brought to you by us. So might as well promote ourselves. We obviously talking about like the highlights of things. There have also been some, and I don't say controversial, but I know that for you, there are controversial posts that we put out in an effort to see all aspects of our community. I think about things like LGBTQ plus A, and how we talk about Pride Month. I think about as you're going through these festivals and things like that, how do you handle those moments when just, that you're representing the right way? You're obviously getting direction from leadership saying this is how we need to represent and we need to be inclusive. How do you handle that? And for those that don't live in the social media world and have to deal with trolls, like, what is that even like?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The keyboard warriors, I feel like I have to dodge them left and right. And I have to hold myself back, especially off the clock, because I'm like, okay, I'll deal with this later. But
your hourly do not work off the clock.
Yes. But gosh, I don't even entertain it. Unless I feel like there would be a good conversation out of it, unless I could possibly make them change their mind or maybe get a little more context, because some of it is like, while negative, may be more constructive rather than, full on hate. And then I'll be like, okay, well, if this is constructive, like, let me engage, let me have a conversation with you, and maybe we'll get a different perspective. But, if it's pure hate, delete. Yeah. Most of the time, if it's kind of like, I'll hide it. But most of the time, if it's just pure hate, I'm deleting it or I'm reporting it. I'm like, no, we don't have room for that. And I'm stubborn. I'm an Aries. I'm a fire sign. So if you want to try me, because you don't want to mess with me, low key. So if I see a hate comment, delete. And we just don't entertain it. We don't have any time for that. And if you're going to be hateful, like, just don't be on our page. I will block people. I've blocked people before. If you post too many hate comments or too many troll comments, I'm considering you on the chopping list if you have not already been chopped. But it's not going to get in the way of what kind of message we're trying to portray. If we're trying to advocate for the community, and a lot of my closest friends are part of the LGBTQIA plus community. So, if you're hating on the community that supports me a lot, I'm going to go after you, maybe, I'm just going to delete the comment or whatever. But I just don't, I don't think that there is a better way to go around it, because people who will post hateful comments like that will continue doing so. And it'll probably take a lot to even change their minds.
And I think it's important for people that are listening and watching, things like that, to know, like, we truly are a voice of the community. And, if you're one of the ones that maybe has gotten a comment deleted because it was hateful or whatever, like, at the end of the day, we represent everyone and not just a singular voice or a singular demographic or whatever it may be. Like, our job is to showcase what Fort Smith has. And the fact that you do it at such a young age with the professionalism that you do I can't say thank you enough, because like that's hard. And we've talked about, with her and some of the things, like, how are you disconnecting from that? And making sure that you create those boundaries and you don't get wrapped up into it, because we hear a lot about it, and just taking care of you as a professional in our community. So
one thing on that note that I would love to ask you is, she's talking about taking care of yourself and, having that time away from your phone. What do you do during that time? I know sometimes you go riding bikes with Bridget.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
What else do you do?
It's hard to keep up with her, I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, I very, very outdoorsy. I love the outdoors. The fact that everything, and I tell people all this time, if it's not in Fort Smith, it's about 30 minutes to an hour outside of Fort Smith. And that's luxury. I don't know how to tell you anymore that is luxury. And so when I'm in town, I like to go to Carol Ann Cross Park. The little boardwalk that they added in the back is so cool. I love it. It's very cute. But yeah, so I love that park. And then I also love Creekmore Park, especially since it's shaded. So if I don't have time to go to Carol Ann because it's hot, I'm going to go to Creekmore. And they also have just a ton of stuff there. I mean, they have tennis courts. They have the new, like, renovated pool there. They also have renovated putt-putt golf. So sometimes I'll do some of that extra stuff depending on the day, but usually I like going to our parks. And then the food I like to eat. Love to eat. Gotta hold myself back. But
do you have a favorite place?
Oh man, a favorite place. That's kind of hard.
Or a go-to.
Yeah.
Go-to comfort food. Go-to.
I love green papaya. And I love Desi Fusion is really good. I also like, when it comes to like Mexican cuisine, I'm also picky as Mexican. I like to go to what is it called? La Guadalupana. And then I also like to go to a food truck that's called Tacolandia. They only open at 5 p.m. So if you want to go for something late night, and I think they're like open until like 2 or 5 a.m. So don't quote me on that, but very cool food truck. We have a ton of good food trucks around here. On top of the food truck stuff, Vinny's Pies. Love Vinny's Pies. I feel like I could go on forever about food.
You're the person. You're literally
yes, I am.
We really sent you out to go do that, but I'm always on shit. Like, what is your actual favorite? So if I have to gift you with something, like, what gift card am I giving you?
That's funny. Yeah.
Where do you hope, kind of as we're trying to wrap this up and we're going in that, where do you hope Fort Smith goes? You're a native. You're from here. You're the voice.
Oh man, that's a hard question. I feel like I hope that, I mean, there will always be a sentiment about people's hometowns, like how they feel about where they're at, or there's negative sentiments everywhere. I mean, it's just the most, I mean, you can go anywhere and you'll hear somebody complain about where they're at, even LA, even New York City, right?
People complain about living in Orlando. Yes. And I'm like, you're home of the mouse. Why are you complaining?
I think about this too. It's like, if you gave someone, there's some people in the world, and you know who they are. If you gave them $1 million, they'll complain about paying taxes on it. It's like those types of people.
Yep. And I'm like, wow, life is so short.
Yeah.
Why would you want to spend it on negative, like, thoughts? And just, it's just, there's nothing impactful or resourceful from a negative thought and a negative, like, just negativity in general. There's nothing comes from it. So I hope that Fort Smith will lean more towards a positive outlook. I hope that the residents here will, have some initiative and support local businesses more. And I hope that they'll start their own projects and plant those seeds and do some really cool stuff. I'm hoping that we'll have, taller buildings. I love a good skyline. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Amen.
I miss that from Dallas.
Yeah, we could get, some really like awesome. Like, we already have a cool skyline. I feel like if the buildings were just a little bit taller, I really scratch that itch. But just cause. But mostly because the drone shot. I love a good drone shot, and so just adding more investing more in our trails, because the trail system, I mean, making Fort Smith more walkable. Fort Smith is perfect. I don't think people understand how good the grid system is here compared to some spots in other areas. We are standing on a gold mine, and all it needs is a little love and care for it to evolve into something that most people would dream of, you know?
This is coming straight from a younger generation. And I know we hear people all the time that are like, we need our younger generation to stay here. We need them to help us thrive and grow. And you're the perfect example. Like, listen. Like, I think all we have to do a lot of the times is just listen and let your generation start taking up some leadership roles and moving things forward. And not stand in the way, because you guys have phenomenal ideas and you want the same things we want, just in a different way. I say that like I'm super old, and I'm not, y'all. I promise.
No, you're not.
And then when you were saying that, I was like, "Oh, I'm just feeling younger and younger as she keeps talking."
Like, dang, I'm not old.
My goodness, that's funny.
Well, anything else you want to share? Kind of parting words.
You know, I'm just gonna say what I've been saying this whole time. If you have a vision, plant those seeds and water the grass, because the grass will die without you. So.
Excellent. I think it's a great parting shot. So thank you so much for being with us. Again, love and adore you so much. You know me. Keep doing incredible work, and thanks for everything.
Yeah.